Hey, welcome to another session. Richard E. Gordon, CEO Dojo. I've been working on this concept of knowledge, and I'm looking at solving the puzzle one piece at a time. And knowledge happens to be a big piece of that puzzle for success in life and business. So today, I have the privilege of having Grace with me. Just a lover of knowledge. She's a seeker of knowledge. She studies in faith. She studies the Bible, but she's always out there just seeking knowledge. I thought she'd be a great person to have this discussion with today. So without further ado, Grace is going to go ahead and introduce herself.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here today, Richard. Thanks for having me. And hello, anyone watching right now. My name is Grace, and I am a wife and network marketer, entrepreneur. For the past 6 to 7 months, I have been building an online business with a mental wellness company. So for me, you know, I'm very passionate about mental and physical health and as well financial wealth. So some of the stuff that, you know, Richard and I have talked about in our years of knowing one another is just how to live that abundant life. And, you know, for me as a person and as well who I am with, you know, my husband, we're very much like-minded. We're not settlers in life. We love to live life abundantly, and we've caught that wave or that dream years ago of knowing, hey, we can do something that gives us the life that we really want in all aspects. And so, you know, I've been with this company for about 6, 7 months that is around mental wellness and obviously financial wellness, and it's helped me a lot in my journey with anxiety and things like that, and just mindset breakthrough. So that's a little bit about me. If you know you wanted to connect more and get to know me more, I'm sure Richard can give you that information. But in general, I'm happy to be here today with you, Richard, and discuss some knowledge, life, business, etc.
Oh, awesome. And thank you for that background. And I know, again, that's part of the concept of you seeking knowledge, not only trying to help yourself, but again, you're a kind person, and as we talk, you're a fixer. So you're going to try to help people with your knowledge, which is, it's always the best way, you know, to live the life, to walk the walk and talk the talk is, you know, a very big advocate of that, because, you know, with your experience and with your dealing with issues, you're able to help other people. You know, so whether it's personal, whether it's business. And again, that to me is a great person that takes the time to share with others to help them. And so commend you for that, and commend you for your effort. And again, people are going to be lucky that have the benefit of getting your knowledge and your experience. So without further ado, the question I've been posing to lots of people, because again, I always ponder this, is knowledge. We all know knowledge is power. I don't get any debates on that. Everybody's familiar with that concept. But what I started looking at, I've been doing the martial arts for 40 years. I'm a seeker of knowledge in every way. I delve into the Bible. I'm all about getting knowledge. And I'm like, okay, are we taking advantage of the power? Is it knowledge enough to give us this power, to make us strong and happy and healthy? Good question. And now with an abundance of knowledge out there, especially with the shutdown, you can go online and you can get a Harvard degree. You can learn how to do heart surgery. You can literally learn anything you want knowledge-wise online. But in my mind, I'm like, is that enough? And especially as a teacher, a coach, and a mentor, me parting knowledge on someone, is that enough? And so that's the question I pose to you. Is knowledge enough to reach success? Business, life, faith. Is knowledge all we need? Here you go. So your thoughts.
Such a good question, and you know, so many aspects. So, you know, in summary, I'll just start with saying that no, I don't think knowledge alone is enough for success in life, business, faith, etc. But that, you know, there's multiple ways to look at what knowledge is. So I believe, and as we've kind of previously discussed as well in past conversations, you know, knowledge of so many things, learning, like for me, you know, learning what gut health really means and how that's connected to my mental health was something I didn't know before. So that knowledge has significantly changed my life and is a pillar of the success I have, 100%. But there was also, you know, and this is, I guess, the example I'm just going with. However, there's been also implementation, commitment, um, you know, I wrote a couple things, just healthy habits in general, community. So knowledge does, as they say, knowledge is power, absolutely. But knowledge without implementation and action is, I mean, useless is kind of a bad word, but it's just a thing, you know, until you put it into action. It's like the famous statement, like, well, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, like, or actions speak louder than words. And I see that a lot. I see that in my marriage, like when we get in, you know, discussions of like, I'm like, well, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. Or like, you know, just things like that. And I think that the biggest thing would be like actually like implementing the knowledge that you have and filtering it as it comes, because it doesn't mean that if you hear like a seminar about whatever gut health, you know, there's going to be millions of bits of information that are there, including all the stimulus around you, like who you're with, the computer you're watching, like what the mind processes in like 1 second is like incredible. Anyway, but you know, you're going to filter and maybe remember whatever 10 to 20 things, for example. Even if there was like, if you the speaker wrote out 200 points, you're probably going to really remember without looking at your notes like 10 to 20 things. So it's about taking what you learned in those 10 to 20 points, or maybe the more points if you studied your notes later, and then deciding, okay, well, what am I going to do something about? Because I could talk about gut health all day, but like people, it's probably just going to people are going to tune out to that after a while, versus like I show them, hey, I'm on a lower dose of my anxiety medications because I've done this. I've looked at gut health, and then I started implementing healthy supplements, products like, and doing things like meditation and prayer, Richard also practices in his life. And then there's healthy eating. And then there's also a large part that significantly helps with my happiness and mental health and vigor, which is relationships, which is community. And so I'm not really sure where I'm going now with this point, but I'm saying that
no, you made a lot of great points. And let me jump back to one that's really this whole thing. And again, like I've said before we started airing this, I've talked to lots of people about this, and no one introduced the word filter, which I love, because it is essential, and I believe that, but no one has said in their list of, you know, application and then commitment and all that, filter.
Yeah.
Absolutely relevant. Because there's no way, you know, I could use martial arts, I could use seminars. There's no way for me to go to a martial arts seminar for even 8 hours and there's like 100,000 moves without filtering. And so my filter is to work on, say, footwork or body mechanics, and that goes for any field. It could be dance, you know, you have to break it down. So the question back to you is, how do you filter, and how do you recommend other people filter when they go to learn something and acquire knowledge? Like, how do they establish a healthy filter to accomplish?
Right. That's a great question. You know, I would say this is where meditation and prayer or whatever you practice is crucial, because God does not call us to think about 5 days from now. He's calling us to literally be present right now. Like, I'm not thinking about anything else right now except that hopefully all my technology goes well. I'm talking with Richard. I'm, you know, sharing this message. Like, I'm in my house. This is the moment that matters. So in terms of how I decide whatever I need to filter and what I'd recommend for others is doing a pulse check of where you are in that moment and what is the one thing, like one thing that you are going to focus on. So for example, like, you know, Richard shared, okay, if he's going to a martial arts seminar, his area that he's needing to work on and focus on is footwork. So he's going to be going into that with specific intention to pick up on what these instructors are doing with footwork. Does that make sense? And you know, so the same would go for me if, like, whatever I do today and I hop on one of my team calls, like, you know, oh, I've been thinking about just getting a little bit more grounded. I've honestly kind of had an off week, and I felt pretty scattered. And so for me, my filter right now, honestly, is quieting my mind so I can just see what's directly in front of me. So it's not a one shoe fits all kind of answer, but I just say, remember that what's the famous quote? Like, they call it the present because it's a gift. Like, the present is all we have. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not even guaranteed the rest of today. All you have is this moment right now, and the ceilings aren't collapsing in on you, like, hopefully, and you're alive. So just be focused on what that thing is. And when you're going into something like a church seminar or like a business class online, whatever's on your heart in that moment is your filter. And I encourage you, just think of one thing, maybe two, if you're feeling a little better and you can bring on more, and allow that to be your thing, and know that you are enough in that. You do not need all the knowledge. That's up to God or whoever you believe in, but my belief is in God and Jesus. That's up to God. Like, I'm one human out of 7 billion people in this world that are alive right now, let alone past, present, future. And so all I can worry about is, I'm on this call with Richard right now, and I'm going to quiet my mind for the rest of my day after this. And that's enough for me.
Perfect explanation of the filter, and a couple of things you touched on. Again, I love throwing questions out that the person not necessarily was expecting, and then but they have to think about how to apply it to what their knowledge is. So that's part of the concept of what I like doing. But no, your answer was beautiful, and a couple of things you touched on is that it's unique for everyone. So yes, everyone's filter is different. You know, that's why I developed the PU for you, because there's no one size fits all. You know, that concept is still out there, but it's dying slowly. You know, there's no one size fits all. And so when you get on a call, whether it's a conference call, a group call, a network call, you all collectively have a goal, is to better yourself and support each other. So whatever your support is, that's what you will filter and get. So yeah, you can't go on a call and all expect to get the same things, you know, because everybody's at different phases. You know, even if it's like a sales call, like, how do you overcome objections? And you're going to have people at different levels of who overcome objections. Some people go right through objections. You know, we all know that salesperson who's like, there's no objection that they don't overcome. They're like, what objections? So they're not going to benefit as much as the person who kind of has to learn how to overcome the so-called rejection. So yeah, so that was a perfect response for the filter. It's like each individual, and each individual has to go in and apply what they need and what they desire. Then again, that comes back to the knowledge. So we can sit side by side in an event, and we're each seeking different knowledge based on our goals, based on our filter, based on what we need to take away. So that's the beautiful thing. So with that said, you know, goals play a part in knowledge. You mentioned that several times. So how do you look at setting goals? And again, how do you recommend to other people? How do they go about setting a goal? And what's a simple formula? Again, very complex topic, but for our purposes, from the knowledge side, what's a simple way to factor goals into it?
Yeah, you know, I mean, in terms of short-term goals, first of all, great question. And I'm a validator. I like to be validated, so I'm a validator. Anyway, great question, Richard. For short-term goals, I think, honestly, the number one key that comes to mind is to be realistic. And, you know, because, like, for example, okay, I'm running a business, and say whatever, I'm bringing in a couple $100s a month. Is it really realistic for me? And I have a group of 10 customers or whatever. Okay, if I say, wow, okay, by the end of the month, I want to be making $5,000 a month. Now, could that happen? Yeah, absolutely. Sure. But is it really realistic in terms of what does that look like to get $5,000 a month? Well, that's like 100 plus people under you consistently. So why don't we break it down to a little bit smaller? Like, okay, well, I want to make I'm making $200. Now I want to make $500 in the next few months. So I think being realistic and, whoever you look up to, or, I encourage everybody and anybody to have some kind of leadership or mentor, somebody that is where you want to be. Maybe not exactly, maybe not like, my friend Shayla is one of my mentors. She's a rodeo wife. Like, no, I'm not looking to be a rodeo wife and live on a farm like she does.
That could be fun for a little while.
No, I mean, hey, maybe. I mean, I'm kind of a country girl, but like in terms of, it's not.
I know what you mean.
It's not the wrapping. It's what's inside,
right.
And who she is and the success that she's had in her business. Earning $5,000 a month is something that I am working towards. And I know she is like, well, I want to be the person that's making $20,000 a month. So she has her mentors that are there, and they have their mentors that are like it doesn't stop. There's not a ceiling. There's not a cap to it. Ultimately, obviously, we're all under the umbrella of God, the universe, but always be and partner yourself with somebody that is ahead of you. You never want to be the best in the room. I learned this growing up. I was a dancer, and there were some times where I was the best in the room, and it was usually in a class that was lower than me. But most of the time, there was a lot of better dancers who were either my same level or better. And it always pushed me because I wanted to continue to be better. And I think that is a healthy way to find a short and long-term goal, is getting with those people that are where you are, and helping you set that realistic timeline for your short term, but also saying, hey, in 5 years from now, I want to be debt free and be making 6 figures a month, whatever, So does that answer your question?
No, it answered it perfectly. And again, I like your thought pattern. So yeah, no, it's an open question, and it's, I know you're formulating to tangibly answer what you did. You did with a lot of good points in there. And so the original goal concept is what you answered. And I think the realism in the goal is essential. And that's what I do when I work with people, is I find their goal, again, comes back to be you for you. Because when I first work with people and I ask them, what's your goals? 99% of the time I get a very status quo goal. It's like if you look and talking to a young person, oh, you're starting college, what are you majoring in? Marketing, pre-med. It's just like this, like socially acceptable answer. And then when you try to ask them a little bit more, you say, well, what do you want to do in marketing? Market stuff, because they don't have the knowledge, and they just pick this safe, and it might be a family thing, or it might be, a friend thing. And I get that. So it's kind of the realism where you go below that. And again, of Iris, she was working at the hotel when you were there as well. So Iris's whole family is nurses. And Iris went to nursing school and graduated. And I said, well, why aren't you a nurse? She says, I don't like blood. And I said, well, why did you go to nursing school? The answer is very simple, because her family. Her family put kind of pressure on her, and she felt pressured, either direct or indirect, to go that way.
Right.
So yeah, the goal has to be, one, realistic, and two, it has to be your goal. And I think that comes into the realistic, because if you're trying to be a doctor because your father's a doctor, or you're trying to be a rodeo star because your family's in the rodeo, sure, you can do it, but it's not going to be realistic because your heart's not in it, not being driven that way. So I think that's a very key way to phrase it, that it has to be realistic. And I think the other key point is to definitely have someone down the road that does what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be a total carbon copy, but you can have aspects in their life. If you want a big house on the beach, then you say, how do they get a big house on the beach? And it might be through, multi-level marketing. It might be through direct sales. It might be through investments. So you can kind of look at that gauge and then customize again to you, your goal, and your realistic approach of how you want to do it. So again, great way you phrase both of those, because it definitely is the goal, realistic, and definitely you need mentors in your life. And so again, with that said, do you think it's essential with one, the pursuit of knowledge, and two, to seek people that have more knowledge or the knowledge you want?
Can you repeat the
Sure.
question?
It's kind of, and once I said, I'm like, wow, she's going to have to follow along. So anyway, the
I'm
question
like,
is,
wait.
in regard to knowledge, do you
Yeah.
feel that it is important to find a mentor that has the knowledge that's going to benefit you and your goal?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, totally. You know, and I was, as I was thinking about it, when you were kind of sharing some points, I was thinking, it's not, again, it's not one size fits all. It's not one person is
Correct.
everything. Like my friend Shayla, like there might be somebody that's a completely different way. Like, you know, in terms of faith, like I have like church mentors, and then, you know, my friend Shayla and Cassie, another gal, like they're kind of more my like business and life, as well faith, because they are strong Christian women, but there's different people. It's not just one, it's not just necessarily one person. I think it's always, you know, I think some keys to be successful in life is focus on the now, like literally the now, and take that time to quiet your mind, to listen to your truth, and then just taking one step forward at a time. I think so often, myself included, like literally every day, I'm like, okay, I want to be at like Z, like I want this at letter Z, and I'm like at like C, D, E right now. So then I get overwhelmed, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this whole alphabet, like how am I going to do this? And then like I'm just always, that's why I do really implement the scriptures into my life, because there's like so many verses that are like, do not worry about tomorrow. Or like, I heard another way of saying it, like, don't bring tomorrow's worry into now. And that's true. Like, I'm not even guaranteed life tomorrow. So why am I focusing on anything else but the Zoom call right now? You know, and I'm seeing all these blessings, like, wow, my electricity is working. My dog's not barking right now. Fingers crossed that stays, you know, and I have food in the fridge and all these blessings. Like, I'm not really sure actually where I'm going with this. This is where so many tangents, but I think it's just, you know, having mentorship, but being open to change, because really the only constant in life is change. And I have a really hard time with that, because I'm very structured. But you can have structure in your change. You can have, like, something that my team and I were doing right now is how to implement healthy habits. And, you know, what are things, I think, what was it? So I guess, was it about 40%, 45 to 90% of the things we do are like habit based. So it can kind of be like a big pendulum. It can be like half the time what you're doing is habit based, or like almost everything you're doing is habit based. And I'm sure from day to day it varies. It's like, well, I make my bed, I brush my teeth, I take my supplements, like I put on makeup, whatever. Like, these are just some things. And then some days might be less, like a lazy Sunday is not as much a habit day as like a make it happen Monday. But you know, just change is the only constant. So accepting that for however you can is going to, I believe, help you live an abundant and truly free life.
Absolutely, great point. And you throughout this whole thing, it's been fun because you've actually been like one step ahead of what I was going to follow up with. And so, you know, with the mentor thing, you stated in the prior question, and then with this, you stated the knowledge is changing. So that was going to be my follow up. And so I always appreciate the thought pattern, because it is it is tangible of how it works. So basically I was going to say that knowledge is changeable. And the key is that, like you say, that people have to accept that. And it's like, if you talk about the old dogs are still going on yesterday's knowledge. There are certain things that are
Right.
tangible, certain things that don't change, or certain absolutes, but there's not a lot. Knowledge changes. Just look at the technology, look at 5 years ago, 10 years ago, GPS and
Right.
cell phones, all of that has completely changed. The way we're doing interviews
Yeah.
has all changed. So the knowledge is going to change, and you have to be flexible and with the change, and you have to have an open mind. So there's all the other concepts that go with knowledge. You have to be aware of that, know that, accept that, and not get anxious. It's easy to get anxious because knowledge, especially in our world now, is changing really fast. When the virus first came down, a lot of people weren't familiar with Zoom, and a lot of people were panicking. Luckily I had been doing Zoom for a while, and most of my friends, but there were some people who were very successful, just had never done a Zoom thing, and I'm sure you experienced it as well. People were really panicking.
Yeah.
It's like, relax, you'll get it, you'll get it. But that change of knowledge was just very unsettling for them. And so the more comfortable you become, and like I say, if you say as well, if you have faith, it will be all right. Again, so you can alleviate some of your anxiety, eliminate some of the angst, that it will be okay. And so, yeah,
Right.
the knowledge changing is a very key ingredient. And then you also talked about the structure. And again, to me, I just had this conversation the other day as well. So a lot of things you're talking about, I touch bases with in different interviews. Structure gets a bad rap, because people always look at structure as being entrenched, as being lacking flexibility. And when I discuss, it's not.
Right.
Your structure just means a foundation and a formation. I use the example, I run every day, and I try to run every morning or swim. This morning I swam. 2 days ago, I had an interview earlier at 7, so I didn't run or swim first. I went after. So there's still structure there, but I'm flexible within the structure. So people give structure a bad rap. They think you're entrenched, you're stuck, and there's no flexibility, and there's no room for wiggling. I don't know. You set a structure for your day, especially in the sales business, in the sales world. You're going to make X amount of calls before noon. That's your habit. That's your routine. Things happen. Stretch it till 5. Still structure without the stress. And so that's what I think helps a lot of people, is to knowledge, to know that things are changing. So do you see, again, and you of course address this, but do you see that life is really flexible and knowledge can change at a moment's notice?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's like what life is all the time. And as you were talking, I was just being reminded of taking it day by day. This is something that my husband, Greg, and I talk about a lot, and he's helped me a lot. Because I'm a high performer, and I can go, but then that can be ahead of myself of really what makes me grounded. So a lot of that is just, okay, what is your goal like tomorrow? Like, if last night, like, I'm looking at my day, I finished my Monday, and I'm like, what is my structure for tomorrow? Like how Richard said, he had that early call, so he did his workout after. Well, the same goes for me. Like, I'm not as much a morning person as him, so I haven't done my workout, but I'm going to work out after this. And, then I have a few other things too going on today, but it's like, you have your structure of like, sorry, my keyboard disconnected for a second. But anyway, you have your structure of like what your weeks might look like, but really you really take it day by day, because something might come up in the day that you didn't expect. And so that's going to shift tomorrow's focus. So, again, it comes back to just being present and setting realistic goals. I encourage people, it depends, but I say 3 to 5 goals a day of like, don't make this laundry list of like 10 items to complete. Like, really think about like maybe 3 things. Like, okay, I need to finish that spreadsheet for my boss, do a live video on Facebook, and, get back to my, like, work for an hour on my messages with people. That's it. And everything else that happens in between my hours of my day, great, that's a plus. But if I get those things done, I feel very accomplished, I feel very satisfied, and ultimately successful. And that knowledge of knowing that I did that and took those just 3 simple things is enough. Ultimately, it's like you're enough for who you are, and let that be enough for your life.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Great way to sum that up. And so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And this is, you shed a whole lot of light on the subject of knowledge. Definitely a lot of worthwhile stuff for people to grasp onto. And again, I take notes, and I absorb the way you phrase things and say things. It's like I said, the filter was the first time it was introduced as such, but it's a perfect way to phrase it. And so I always look at myself as the student. So that's how I always approach my life, that I'm a master in a lot of things, but I'm always a student. A true master is always a student. And I think you embrace that as well. So it's been a pleasure talking to you. Again, this is a topic that can go on for hours. Again, I'm getting all warmed up. You know, when I do these, I love the energy going. It's like after it's done, I'm like ready for more, because is a great way to exchange information and knowledge. And I know people out there are going to benefit for sure, because you definitely share a lot of key components of how knowledge fits into everyday life. And I think that's the key to this equation. Knowledge is power. You gave them some tools how to access that power. And again, that's what people are looking for in this day and age. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for your knowledge and your wisdom. And it's been a true pleasure. So, any parting words you want to leave us with?
Just know that, just take it one day, one day, 1 minute, like not even just one day at a time, just minute by minute, and be present in who you are, and know that you're enough. You don't need to do all these things. You just need to be, because you already are complete. So but you got to take that time to tap into that complete, beautiful piece of artwork that you are, through meditation and prayer or quiet time, whatever you do. There's not a one shoe fits all, but I just want to tell everybody that you're enough as you are, and that's, nobody in the world or anything can tell you otherwise, because God loves you. So that's it.
Great message to end with. I appreciate that. Richard E. Gordon, CEO of Dojo. Again, always remember, be you for you. Peace out.
Bye.